Folks, we're now joined by State Senator Anthony Bucco, who is the Republican leader in the Senate in New Jersey. Good to see you, Senator.
Good to see you, Steve.
You got it. Hey, Senator, what's your beef with the governor's 2025 budget address? What are you concerned about?
Well, look, he painted a very rosy picture, as governors are supposed to do.
That's
But I
right.
think as in the Wizard of Oz, when you peek behind the curtain, you're going to see a whole different type of budget and impact that budget's going to have on our residents. We're now looking at a 10-cent increase in the gas tax, right? 15% fare hike for New Jersey Transit, 3% year-over-year toll hikes, on our roadways. We've got the third worst unemployment rate in the nation. And while he's spending more money for schools, there's 100+ school districts that are actually going to see a cut in aid. One of the school districts in my legislative district is going to lose almost $1 million.
State funding going to a local school district in your Senate district.
Correct. Yep.
Do you think that's political, or that's just the way the formula works? The state funding formula.
It's a broken formula, Steve. I mean,
Okay.
we know that. I mean, and even some of the Democrats have now said the same thing. I mean,
Senator Ruiz said the same thing on the the other segment we did before we talked to you. That's not a partisan thing. It's a question of how people choose to deal with it. Senator, can we do this? Can we take these issues one by one?
Sure.
First
Happy
one.
to.
You said that there's an increase in the gas tax of 10 cents. Isn't it really 2 cents over the next 5 years, which makes it 10 cents, A, and B? Senator, isn't that increase in the in the gas tax, isn't that increase in the gas tax supposed to go to pay for the Transportation Trust Fund so our roads and bridges are safe?
You are absolutely correct, Steve, and I couldn't agree with you more. And the 10 cents is over time. Over
Right.
5 years, it'll increase to 10 cents. But there was no reason to increase the gas tax. The Republicans put forth a proposal that showed not only could we fund the Transportation Trust Fund without raising the gas tax, but we could fund it for a longer period of time, from 5
With what
years
money?
to 8
You talking about the surplus?
We were going to use a little bit of the surplus, state surplus. We were going to use a little bit of the debt defeasance fund that the governor has. He's got a huge amount of money in the debt defeasance fund.
What is that? Senator, what
The
is
debt defeasance fund is a fund that they have to pay down debt over time. And what we've seen this governor do is take the lowest interest rate debt and pay that down first. And to us, that's a mistake. And in fact, many financial analysts have said the same thing, that the state would save more money over time if you paid down some of the higher debt than some of the lower interest rate debt. So what we're saying is, rather than increase the gas tax, let's take some of that would have been used to pay down the debt and instead put it into the Transportation Trust Fund so we can avoid having to put an additional financial burden onto the backs of our taxpayers.
You also mentioned the increase in New Jersey Transit dealing with falling off the so-called fiscal cliff, serious financial problems with the state entity that manages our buses and our trains, the rails. The governor has proposed a tax, an increased tax on corporations in the state whose profits are over $10 million in a year. That we need that money to keep New Jersey Transit solvent. A. B. There is an increase in fares. The governor had an opportunity to veto the minutes of the meeting, if I'm not mistaken, of the board. I'm getting complicated here, of the board of New Jersey Transit who voted for that increase. He did not veto those, correct, Senator?
That is correct. But you remember during the campaign period, he did veto the increase. So when we
Well, just a coincidence, Senator.
You think so? Listen, that's what they say.
What do you think?
Listen, I think that they all knew this was coming, and they just didn't want
Who's
to do it
they?
during
Who's
election
they? The
season. The
Democrats?
administration,
Okay,
the
go ahead.
governor's office, and my colleagues across the aisle. They knew this was coming. We Republicans have been pointing to this issue for years now. This isn't just the last year that we've been talking about this. We've been talking about this for a few years now.
About New Jersey Transit and its
About
problem,
New Jersey Transit. I mean,
financial as well as service problems.
that's
Okay,
why
you've
I
been
objected. That's why I objected to their leasing of that new building uh, at such an increase in release
you
payments.
mean their new corporate, their new
The new corporate
headquarters?
headquarters, correct?
Okay, but you could be critical of the fare increase, Senator. You could be critical, and I know you are, of this tax that's being called for uh, on corporations that make over $10 million a year. And I know you're critical of it, but what's the Republican, quote, solution to the crisis at New Jersey Transit?
Well, I'll tell you what, and it ties into the Transportation Trust Fund. Part of our proposal for funding the Transportation Trust Fund without a tax increase was to put money into New Jersey Transit, both for capital and for operations, more money than the administration had proposed, and for the first 2 years. Okay. During that time period, we filed a separate bill as part of this Transportation Trust Fund package to do an independent audit of New Jersey Transit and find out what they're doing right, what they're doing wrong, and how we can make them more efficient. You know, times have changed. With people working from home now, there's not as much need for mass transit as there used to be. So, unless we can determine what the problems are at New Jersey Transit, we can't fix them. And we can't just keep throwing money at New Jersey Transit and have a knee jerk reaction to just raise taxes to cover the problem. Let's fix it once and for all.
You talked about this in the past with us. We've had a long-standing initiative, Reimagine Childcare, which is a public awareness initiative around the need for affordable, accessible childcare. We've talked to all kinds of people about this, and I asked your colleague on the Democratic side of the aisle, Senator Ruiz, who's been a leader in this area, same question. But Reimagine Childcare is expanding into this new initiative called the First 1,000 Days NJ, dealing with important issues that affect children and their families. Question: what would you say the most pressing issue for children and their families is right now in 2024 in the state of New Jersey?
I think mental health. I think coming off of COVID, I think there are still some children that were out of school for long during the shutdown that are dealing with issues that we've got to be careful about. Learning loss is also critical. Both of those two issues kind of tied together, I think, because if kids aren't feeling comfortable in school, then that can lead to mental health issues. So I think we really have to focus on those two areas. I just had a bill passed at a committee that would allow service animals into grammar schools because it's proven that if you bring an animal into that situation, a service animal, dog, the kids, they just have a better reaction. They feel better about the day, and that leads to better test scores and better work ethic.
You've never held back. You're always, one of the reasons I like having you is you straightforward. You say what you think, whether people agree or not, it's another story. Real quick, on the Republican nominee for President Donald Trump, who said there'll be a bloodbath if he loses, and that's not the worst of it. That's just a long line of nothing you would ever say, nothing
No,
I would ever say, nothing reasonable people would say if they want to avoid political violence. The argument of the Trump campaign is, come on, he wasn't talking about what was January 6th. Question: does the former president's rhetoric concern you?
yes. And words matter, right? I do this all the time when our communications folks on the Senate Republican side send me something. There are words sometimes that they use. They don't do it intentionally. But when I read it, I don't like the way it sounds. You can say it in a better fashion and still get the same point across. I think people don't want to hear the rhetoric. They want to know what the solution is. And, you know, the division that's being caused in this country needs to stop. You know, I mean, it started a while ago, and it's gotten progressively worse. And I think it's incumbent upon us as elected officials to try to bring people together, because I say this all the time. There is more that unites us than divides us. And we need to concentrate on what unites us. And for the stuff that may divide us or we may disagree on, we can do that, but in a civil fashion. And that's what's critically important, I think, now, not only in New Jersey, but
In
across
the
the
nation, without demonizing each other. Senator Anthony Bucco, Senate Republican leader in the state of New Jersey. Senator, thank you so much for joining us. We appreciate it.
Thanks, Steve. Always great to be here.
I'm Steve Adubato. That's Senator Bucco. Thanks for watching. We'll see you next time.
State of Affairs with Steve Adubato is a production of the Caucus Educational Corporation, celebrating 30 years in public broadcasting. Funding has been provided by New Jersey Sharing Network, the Turrell Fund, a foundation serving children, Hackensack Meridian Health, Kane University, Veolia, the Port Authority of New York and New Jersey, IBEW Local 102, the Healthcare Foundation of New Jersey, Eastern Atlantic States Regional Council of Carpenters, and by these public-spirited organizations, individuals, and associations committed to informing New Jersey citizens about the important issues facing the Garden State. Promotional support provided by bestofnj.com and by northjersey.com and Local IQ.
Hello, I'm Donald Payne Jr., Congressman from New Jersey's 10th District. One organ and tissue donor can save as many as 8 lives and improve the health of another additional 75 people. That is why I encourage everyone to register as an organ donor. For more information about organ donation, please visit www.njsharingnetwork.org.